All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We hope that you enjoy.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to episode 370 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Anthony K., better known as Marcus Almighty on the board. I'm joined today by 69th Blizzard Ken.
Hey.
And I'm also joined with our good friend, St. Louis Kiss, Lonnie.
Hello.
Now, today, before we start our episode, we want to give out a very special shout out to our friend Andy, who's going through a bit of a health situation right now. We wanted you to know that our thoughts and prayers are with you, Andy. We are thinking about you, and we hope that you get well soon.
Absolutely.
Yep. Get well. Get well. We need you back in the Kiss world.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
sure.
Absolutely. So, once again, the ship is left in our hands to sail the mighty waters of Kiss history and discuss many things that the Kiss populace want to hear. So, before we get to that, let's get on to one of the most asked questions here. Did anybody here get anything new Kiss-wise in your collection?
I have not recently. Well, this is off to a roaring start today.
Yeah.
It's entertaining.
I got nothing. I'm just still waiting on the buy package. So
Yeah. Keep on waiting.
I pre-ordered the ABBA vinyl, but that's all that's not Kiss, but that's something I did today.
You're waiting on a magical book too, but I don't know which one's going to come first.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the one book will get here pretty quickly, I'm sure. Well, more quickly in retrospect to the two. So I didn't get anything either, in case people are wondering. I haven't bought anything Kiss related for a little while. I've actually bought some Frank Zappa stuff and some Genesis, but that's not what... One thing we should probably obviously mention as well is, as I'm sure everybody knows, is old news by now, but Mr. Gene Simmons has come down with COVID as well. We wish Gene Simmons a fast return to health and to get back on the road as soon as possible. I know I've seen a few people online who've been crying in their various drinks, whether it's beer or Coca-Cola, that their shows got canceled and unsure of whether they'll be rebooked or not. So I know that there's people upset about it, and I know, Lonnie, you have something to add to this.
Well, I think the one positive that we can take out of this is that Gene and Paul Paul seems to be recovering according to the Twitter tweets, and according to Gene, he only had minor symptoms, and he's going to be okay. So I would think that moving forward, both of them are going to have antibodies and natural immunity, which is even better immunity than the vaccines can provide. So I would say moving forward, the tour is good to go. I mean, Gene and Paul can start licking doorknobs at these shows if they want to. I think.
Yeah, and they don't have to go behind the screens anymore. You can have Gene and Paul out front. You can have people sneezing on them, no problems now. Yeah. Everything's hunky
Take a
dory.
good sneeze when you see them.
Well, yeah. As long as Paul, does Paul, spitting out his guitar picks, will that be stopped by him? Will he think twice before spitting it out at somebody?
Maybe that's not a good idea right now.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Probably not, but we'll find out soon.
We'll find out. Ken's gonna be front row center. He'll have first hand.
Oh boy. So remember,
I'll be like, no, don't.
bring in your back.
I don't want to pick this time.
Yeah, make sure you pack one of those screens when you go on, if you're going to be there, so just in case, some deflection.
Have to wear a rubber suit or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like the consensus is they'll be back on the road soon, hopefully. So let's wish them a speedy recovery, and let's get this tour wrapped up. I'm sure that's what they're kind of thinking. Let's not have any more delays, and let's get this all done and put it in the history books.
History books.
So, history books.
Yeah. Well, one thing too is that the Australia tour got delayed until spring.
That's right. They did. Yeah.
Yeah.
They postponed it. So yeah.
Sounds like this. It sounds like the end of the road tour is going to last longer than the farewell tour.
It's gonna last 75.
Yeah.
They'll make it 75 years of Kiss. Yeah.
It is interesting that that their last show should have been already like a month ago. You know, so they've passed
That's
that.
true.
In July.
Yeah. So let's wish for the best though for them.
Yeah.
So today's topic is a very interesting one, I think, because initially we were thinking about talking about a record that was released in September, but of course our resident genius and leader Julian Gill, along with Ken, the voice of reason, determined
leader and the voice of reason.
Yes, that's a good. Yeah, very good. They determined that there are several albums that have come out in the month of September. Most notably, they are all records that were done past the classic period. So we have records like Lick It Up that are there. You know, you have Psycho Circus, that was one of these records. You know, Asylum. You know, there's a few records that came out in this time period. So we decided to take those 5 records, okay, that came out at that time period, and take a look at those and make a best of from those 5 records. Those records are, of course, Lick It Up, Asylum, Animalize, Crazy Nights, and Psycho Circus. Now, we picked 3 songs from each record, you know, did our normal voting sort of system with it, and tallied up the numbers.
Wait a minute. We did not pick 3 songs.
My favorite songs from each record.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I was told.
You did, Ken?
Yeah. I picked whatever. I could have picked 0 from one of the 5 albums if I wanted to. So Mark got the wrong memo.
This is what you get when Julian's not on the show.
But that's okay. It's okay. So he spread it out good. Anyway, we spread them out good, and for the most part, I spread my picks out. It was like 3 and 1. I think one had 4 and the other one 3, and a couple of them had 2. So whatever.
I guess what I kind of deduced was because it was 5 and they wanted to do 15. I thought that maybe just
you're doing the math.
Was to do 3 from
division.
I do enough math the other day.
He's doing division.
Yeah. It's not obviously that important to have done it that way, but that was how I did it. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that explains your crazy choices then. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. So out of those 5 albums, we have our list here, and in the usual fashion, we will go from the one with the least amount of votes to the one that got the most amount of votes of our best of.
Yeah, it's 15 songs. Yeah, so
it's 15 songs.
Okay.
So coming in at 15 with 13 points is Gimme More. Now, the interesting thing with this, who picked Gimme More?
I did not.
Julian picked Gimme More, and I believe he was the only one, really? No. Yeah, it looks like that he was the only one who picked Gimme More.
No. Someone else. Julian gave me more. Someone else must have picked Give Me More.
I know I didn't pick it. I'm looking right at it. Ken did not pick Give Me More.
Well, wait a minute. How did I even get up there? What kind of math is that?
Did Julian have it ranked super high?
He ranked it at 3.
No, that's why.
But you know what?
And he's not even here to explain himself.
Anyway, that's fine. We'll just go with that.
That's fine.
Well,
Give Me More is a good song.
Yeah. So let's talk about then Give Me More really quickly. I didn't pick it. It's a decent song, but obviously, and amongst the rankings of the other songs that we had to choose from, it just didn't obviously stick out in my mind to pick it. What about you guys?
Yeah. So.
Good.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, Give Me More. I saw the final. I was like, Give Me More. And I know I didn't put it, so I thought that's not one of my favorite songs, and not one of my favorite types of style of Paul Stanley songs. So it's a good song, but it's not. It's not up there with some of the better songs that are on that album or other albums. So I was kind of surprised by that one.
Yeah, it only had 13 points. It's because Julian gave it 13 points. So
interesting.
So it is Julian only. I didn't pick it either. It's a good song. I don't hate it. But when you're looking at these 5 albums, it's not one that, kind of what Ken said, it's not one that stood out to me like, oh, of the 5 albums, just say, 5 albums of 50, just say average, say 50 songs, it's not one that stood out that, oh, I got to put this in the upper echelon of songs from these albums.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hate the song. I mean, it's on Lick It Up. I love Lick It Up, but it's more of if you take Lick It Up as a whole, I don't want to offend people who really like the song, but to me, if you take Lick It Up as a whole, it's more filler or more of a throwaway. It doesn't stand out to me as much as some of the other songs do.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that could be agreed upon. Looking at this chart, I think that our leader will have to explain himself because there's a couple of things in here that don't jive. But let's continue with the list.
We're all crazy.
Yeah, he probably has some reasoning for it, but we'll have to ask him later about that. So coming in next in 14th place with apparently 15 points is Lick It Up. Now, Lick It Up was given the green light by myself, and also there was another person here who voted for Lick It Up as well. I
have
it. Or if Lonnie has Lick It Up. Yes, Lonnie has Lick It Up as well. And Ken does have Lick It Up on here. Okay, so 2 of us picked on here. So that makes a little bit more sense as far as maybe, how the voting could have went. Lick It Up, I picked it mainly because if this is approached as a sort of best of, Lick It Up obviously is one of those tracks that, when you look back into the whole musical history of stuff, it was a popular song. It was a song that was played on MTV a lot and the music videos times there. So I kind of looked at it as a popular song to put on to a best of. What do you think, Ken?
Yeah, I considered it, of course, but I just to say my list, for the most part, I tried to stay for the most part away from hit songs, except for a couple. I just purposely didn't want to do that one, and there's another one I purposely didn't do also. But having said that, I did put a couple on there. So anyway, it's a good song. It was a single, it was a hit. And I think I just didn't put it on there. Another reason is, I'm kind of tired of it. So I went for one of the other, rockin' songs that, that were off that album.
Yeah, I get it. I have it on my list. I have it ranked low. It's like 13th maybe on mine. Where Mark, you had it ranked pretty high.
Yeah.
And I had a hard, and I guess I have it on my list for a couple of reasons. One, I found it hard to leave it off because it is such an important song in the band's history, being the first single without makeup. So I had a hard time leaving it off. However, I like the song, but I'm kind of at the point with Ken too, where since they brought it back in 2000 on the farewell tour, I mean, I have not seen a show where we have not had Lick It Up in the set list in the last 21 years, and I'm kind of with you. We're like, I get it. It's a radio hit. The casual fan knows it when they go to the show because they might hear it on the radio every now and then.
Yeah.
Or they might remember it from their youth. But I am kind of grown tired of it when they play it in concert, especially the Who breakdown when they play it in concert. It's like, all right, the first time or two they did that, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, do I really need to hear that every time? I guess
I need to trim that up.
Yeah, I don't think. We could squeeze in another quick song for the amount of time we do with the Who breakdown.
That's right. Yeah.
But anyway, you can go listen to past episodes of the KissFAQ podcast and we bitch about the set list. But that's not what today's about. So I put it in there just because it is such an important song of the band's history, and it is a good song. So I had a hard time leaving it.
Yeah, that all makes perfect sense for not wanting to have it on the list. Now, looking through the chart here, I see how how Julian put it here. Like the top of our list were 15 points, the bottom song on our list were 1 point. But where I don't understand his logic is coming up in this next one, because coming in at 13th place, okay,
Mm-hmm.
with 17 points, is Trial by Fire.
Mm.
Now, Julian picked Trial by Fire.
He gave it 7 points.
7 points. And Ken picked it,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and he gave it 9 points for that. So that would have been only 16 points. But the thing is, he also put it that it's a cut song. He cut it. It says 7 songs were cut from Ken's, 4 were cut from mine, 5 were cut from Julian's, and 4 were cut from Lonnie's. So if he cut Trial by Fire from it, then how did it get included in?
I don't think he cut Trial by Fire.
Julian likes Trial by Fire.
He means 7. I think the 7 out or 7 songs on my list did not make the final list. Right? So
Okay.
For instance, you, Mark, and Lonnie have 4 songs each that did not make the final list.
So for the average listener here, Julian always makes these.
But that's what I'm saying. Because it says
we're struggling.
yeah, because it says on your list that your Trial by Fire was cut. No. So I don't know, how's it on the
Trial by Fire? Well, no, it wasn't cut. I mean, you don't read it like that because that's I don't even know how he highlighted that. It looks like it, but when you look at the final list, it doesn't jive. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but yeah, I'll just talk about Trial by Fire. So Julian and I picked it. I just think it's a real good Gene song, kind of catchy. It's kind of stand up, and for yourself. It's kind of a good song from there, and not kind of like that's something Paul would write more in sentiment than Gene usually writes. So, but I've always liked that song. I don't think it has a guitar solo in it or anything, but it's still, I always liked it, so I threw it on there from Asylum.
Lonnie?
I enjoy the song again. Kind of like Give Me More, where I like the song, but I didn't feel like it needed to be in that upper echelon of songs from these albums.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hate it, but it's good. It's it has kind of an '80s feel to it, and it's a very good Kiss song. Like, I'm gonna live my life. Oh yeah, it's a very it's a very common theme Kiss song. But it's really good. I mean, it's good though. It's a good motivational type song, anthem type thing. I like it.
Interesting. Okay, so for my well, no, I mean, I understand, because I mean, the one thing that is interesting about it is the fact that, like Ken said and like you said, this is not really Gene's lyrical sort of forte. He isn't about the positivity. He's more about girls and this and that with his lyrics. This one seems to be a little bit more up Paul's alley lyrically. So I mean, I like this song too. I didn't pick it, but again, my reasoning for not picking it was the same that I had for not picking, for example, Give Me More, which was because within the specter of the other records, I liked those other songs far more than Trial by Fire. Don't forget, Asylum is my favorite non-Kiss makeup album, so of course I'm going to like this song, right? So just wasn't in my train of thought when I was picking what would be the best of the best, So next up in 12th spot, and at 16 points for some reason, we have All Hell's Breaking Loose. Now, this one was voted on by Ken. Ken had it pretty high. He had it in like near the top, I think like fourth
place for me.
Yeah. 12 points.
And Lonnie had it as well, kind of near the bottom, like fourth last at 4 points. I didn't pick it, and I don't think that Julian didn't either, no. Yeah. So I'll just start really quickly. All Hell's Breaking Loose is a song that I've actually really liked. I think that it helped that it was a video as well, and one of those more humorous sort of videos. It almost reminds me of Too Young to Fall in Love, Motley Crue. It almost has that kind of same vibe to it, with that kind of humorous bit in there. So I think that it's a strong song. It's also, ironically, one of the few songs that Eric Carr has a writing credit on.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that he was the one who wrote the main riff of that song. So good for Eric. Great riff. You probably should have got credited for more stuff and probably write a lot more. But that's not the point right now. But I think it's a great song. And, you know, on a different day, I probably would have picked it. So let's start with Lonnie this time with this.
I like All Hell's Breaking Loose. I mean, it has a different feel to it. It's a good way to kick off the second side of the album with the little rap at the beginning, and I really like the just the riff of the song too. Mm-hmm. And it's good. It's kind of song that kind of sticks with you. You listen to it, and you catch yourself singing it later in the afternoon, or at least having it stuck in your head in the afternoon after you may listen to it earlier in the day. It's pretty good. So, look it up. There's full of good songs, and that's just one of them. I had to put it on my list.
Very good, Ken.
Yeah, I mean, for the same reasons Lonnie said, and it has great. Again, yes, the riff, the guitar solo, and it's pretty cool. I like the gang vocals, in that one, all hell's breaking loose. I mean, they sing it over and over, obviously. And the drums are, fit very well in that song. They sound really good. So, yeah, that was pretty high on my list. I always like it's a different type of Kiss song. And it makes sense because, Eric Carr, with, writing kind of the main riff part of the song, it's different than what you would normally get with Paul or Gene. So yeah, great song.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so next up on the list, on the 11th spot, and coming in with 20 points, is "Crazy Crazy Nights."
Yep.
A very popular song, not only I guess here in North America, but it was a very, very huge hit in the United Kingdom as well. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think it was in their top 10, wasn't it, when that song came out?
I think so.
I think it's very catchy. I mean, I think that's also the reason why if every time they've done a UK tour, they've always played it, because I mean that would be like going to Australia and not doing Shandy. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think that it's a good pick. Out of the four of us, three of us picked it. Me and Ken both had it in 10th spot on our lists, and Lonnie had it in 8th spot. He had it 2 spots higher. That has to be interesting to get Lonnie's comments on that. So, like I said, for me, Crazy Nights is very catchy. I've always loved the song. I thought it was extremely catchy melodically, vocally. It has that Nevison production, very glossy. Some people say it's a little too glossy. Gene Simmons has been quoted in a few books saying that he didn't like the production of it. It was overly sheened, too much for him. And having heard some of the earlier demos of it, where it was more guitar and a little less keyboards, maybe he might have had a point. But I still think that if any song benefited from Ron Nevison's production, I think it's this song. I think that really did benefit from his sort of production work on there. So while we're waiting for Lonnie, let's get your thoughts on Crazy Nights, Ken.
Yeah, so you and I picked the same spot, a little bit below the middle of the pack, but that's one of the two songs off of Crazy Nights that I picked, and that's a kind of, I said I was gonna stay away from like hit songs, but that one, it wasn't a hit really here. But over there it was in Europe. But yeah, I picked it, and because it's obvious, really well written and very good, song. And like you said, the production fits that song. The more poppy kind of stuff is going on at that time, at least the poppy, harder rock kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a good song. I really didn't pick many from Crazy Nights. I think, like I said, I only picked 2 songs, but that one had to be there, and there's one more that has to be there that will, I think, hit on later.
Yeah. Now, until Lonnie comes, we'll just talk a little bit more about this one. But one thing that is interesting that you brought up, and we both brought up, was the fact that was a much bigger hit overseas than it is here. And one obvious evidence of that is when we take a look at the track listings of Smashes, Thrashes, Hits, the North American one, as opposed to the European version of it. Because if you take a look at that one, it has Crazy Crazy Nights on the European one, does not have it on the US pressing of it. So obviously they did take that into account as well when making the track listing, that it was obviously a much bigger hit on the other side of the pond, as they say, than it is on this side of it. So we'll come back to Lonnie for Crazy Crazy Nights. We'll move on. Maybe we'll get him to talk about both of them. So coming in at 10th spot, we have Tears Are Falling. Now, that came in with 26 points. Who picked Tears Are Falling? Well, obviously, knowing my love of this album, Tears Are Falling was on my list. It was on Julian's list. It was on Ken's list. And it was on Lonnie's list. So all of us thought very highly of it. We have here Tears Are Falling. We had it on 11th or 12th spot, I believe it is, for Julian, 12th spot for me. And I believe that you guys had it on 8th spot, and Lonnie had it in 6th spot. Lonnie had it the highest out of everybody. Which is interesting because, again, being the big fan of it, you would have thought that maybe I would have had it a little bit higher up, but it is where it is, right? Yeah. But yeah, Tears Are Falling for me is another one of these songs that I loved from its first listen that I got of it. Again, the video helped immensely. I mean, back in the time when this came out, I was pretty young still, right? I mean, this is like 1985. So I would have been like 12. So obviously I was very influenced by the MTV and stuff like that. So, seeing Paul and those guys dancing around with their pink and neon stuff, and it's like, wow, what the hell's going on here? Look at those kind of, flashy guitars. But even back then, when I started getting into music and playing guitar, I always loved guitars, the look of guitars. And they were using those BC Rich Ironbird guitars with those really sharp edges and stuff like that. So I was really into those kind of guitars and found them very attractive visually as far as that goes. Now, before we continue with this, let's get back to Lonnie and his thoughts on the 11th spot song, which was Crazy Crazy Nights.
I like Crazy Nights. I know some people think it's too poppy, and it's on, because the album Crazy Nights really, they're chasing trends at the time. But I like the song. It was really cool when they brought it back in the set, like in 2010. I was excited just because it was something different. Number one, but I like the song. It's like an anthem. It's a great Kiss song. So I had a hard time not putting it on there. I didn't rank it super high, but it's a great Kiss song, and I don't think it gets enough. I don't think they play it enough. I wish they were still playing it actually in the show, because it's different, it's fun, it was a big hit for them in Europe. It's very deserving to be on there.
Absolutely. I think that, we all agreed upon that line of thinking. And ironically, you voted highest out of
Did
us.
I really?
Yeah, for that song. So, I mean, not really much higher, only like 2 spots higher, but still, you had a good opinion of the song. And I think we all do in that manner. The song that we were just talking about when you came back was the number 10 song, which is Tears Are Falling. Now, I just started giving my thoughts about that as well. While we have you on a roll, why don't you continue with your thoughts of Tears Are Falling, and then we'll go over to Ken.
Yeah, Tears Are Falling. Hold on, I was my service call. Tears Are Falling. I had it. I ranked Who Wants to Be Lonely higher than Tears Are Falling, just because I like the song better. But Tears Are Falling. Where did I have
6th? You have it on 6th place.
There it is.
6th spot.
I have it fairly high. It's a great song. Cool that they are doing it. I first heard Tears Are Falling when I was pretty young, like nine years old, and we got Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits on cassette. So that was my introduction to Tears Are Falling. So I've always liked the song because we would play our Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits cassette just over and over and over again. And this was before I hadn't even seen the video for it until years later when we finally got cable in Missouri. And no, we had cable in Missouri before my parents sprung for cable in Missouri. Yeah. I enjoyed the song. I think it's great. It was a big hit for him. Everybody always says it was one of the most requested videos on MTV that year. That was just always on. And then when I go get exposed, and I see the video finally, I'm like, oh, I can see why. This is, it is great. It's total Kiss 80s. They look ridiculous, but everybody looked ridiculous. And people say, oh, look how bad they look. Everybody looked ridiculous in the mid 80s. So they were, following trends. But Tears Are Falling, great song, great hit for him. Deservingly out of these core songs, Tears Are Falling, very deserving.
Absolutely. Mr. Keenan.
Yeah, so it's a great song. And I was thinking about the first time I heard that song, and I didn't even know the album was coming out yet, and it wasn't out yet. But I heard the song on the radio. I didn't know who it was, and I said, my ear is like, wait a minute, what is this? I haven't heard this, but it's pretty good. And I said, man, it sounds like Kiss. And I thought, And then, sure enough, at the end of the song, it said, yeah, that, it was Kiss. And I was like, oh, okay. So I knew, okay, that's one of the new songs coming off the next album. So, yeah, I enjoyed that one right away. Well written. Should have been a bigger hit, actually. I know it played a lot. With the amount of time it played on MTV, it should have been higher on the charts as a hit. I don't know why, but it's a really, really great song. So, but that's why it's about, mine's 8, I think, on my list out of the 15. So it's right in the middle there, but it's a good one. That's why I put it on my list.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Totally agree with that. So moving on to number 9 is a song that didn't have the same sort of help as far as getting it popularized as songs like Crazy Nights or Tears Are Falling did. Or even Lick It Up. Julian had it, on 10th. I had it pretty high up. I think I had it 6th or 7th spot. Ken had it pretty low, almost near, and Lonnie had it somewhere right in the middle, 8th spot or something like that. So for me, I've Had Enough is one of those songs that I clearly remember because when we got the album the first time, I was really excited. Oh, a new Kiss album. All right, it's going to be awesome. I'd already had at that point the 7-inch of Heaven's on Fire. So I'd already been aware of that song. I don't even think I ever spun the B-side, which I think was that Murder in High Heels, I think it was?
Something like that. I think it's one of the Gene songs. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I got it, I put it on, and I was just like, whoa, my hair was blown back. And holy, up-tempo, really fast-paced, and Mark St. John was just blistering on that guitar. He was everything that they were starting to hype him up to be and more. He's a great shredder. He never had enough time in the band to contribute. So, but I honestly think that it's a very good opener, strong song, and that while it doesn't fit into the category of maybe a great type of song, I think that it's definitely a fan favorite, I think, amongst Kiss people. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let's start again this time.
Yeah, and just to say, Mark, your audio has been a little bit shaky, but we got the point on your song why you picked it. But it's been a little iffy kind of connection today, I think. All right, so what song we were, as I just lost it. I've had enough. Yeah, I've had enough. Is a really great opening song on Animalize, but it's it's a little bit lower on my list just because it's not a great opener as compared to like Exciter. I mean, Exciter blows that song away, but it was it was like another attempt by Paul to maybe do something like Exciter again. Even something like Crazy Night, not Crazy Nights, but Creatures of the Night or something like that. Just a great opening type powerful song, and it's really good. So it's on my list. I enjoy it. Yeah, Mark St. John is good on that one. Maybe Paul told him exactly what to play. Because supposedly he was all over the place. But yeah, it's a good song and it deserves to be on the list, in my opinion.
All right. So, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
okay,
we can
good.
hear you.
Okay, so let's get Lonnie's impressions.
Yeah, so I've had enough. It's great. It does remind you of Exciter, where they just wanted a blazing song to kick off this album, and it definitely does that. It definitely lives up to its task. I had Animalize as a kid, and
you were born by that time.
I was born by the time Animalize.
Okay, all right.
I'm not as young as Andrew.
Yeah.
But I had Animalize as a kid. Maybe not in 1984 when it came out, but I had it early. It was one of the first albums I had was Animalize. And I remember listening to that cassette over and over and over again. But I've had enough just kicking off that album and just really, in your face rock with that guitar. And I love the song. So it's right in the middle of my list, but I have, it's just great. And yeah, it's you guys are right. It's probably Paul telling Mark, this is how I want it to sound. This is the way I want it to be. Now play it just like that for me, type thing. But it's the sound they were looking for to kick off that album and to kind of hook you in the way Exciter hooks you in to Lick It Up. So definitely very worthy.
Absolutely. So, speaking of openers, our next one coming in at number 8 is King of the Mountain at 28 points. Now, on my list, I had a number 1. I mean, everybody knows my opinions of King of the Mountain. I mean, I really love this song. It's a fantastic song, great opener. Great lead work by Bruce Kulick on this. Singing is fantastic, and I mean, Eric Carr's drumming is just absolutely spectacular on this song. Now, we also have Julian, who put it in 4th place on here, but I believe that he's the only other person who voted for it. I don't think anybody else voted for it. So our high rankings of that put it in the position that it is. So let's start off with Lonnie on your points of this.
Yeah, so I left King of the Mountain off, and maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe if I were to do the list today, my list would look a little different, and it may have King of the Mountain on it. It was definitely a consideration. Just didn't quite make it. I really like the song. Again, great. Again, opener track. Great opening. The Eric Carr drums to kick it off. Just kind of sucks you in a little bit. And it's a typical Kiss. It's a typical Kiss song.
Yeah.
Of going for what you want, anthem like, and sounds like it needs to be in Rocky IV almost.
Yeah.
So it's like Rocky IV when he's running up the mountains. Perfect. And it's a great song. I definitely understand Mark's reasoning for putting it at the top of his list, and I wasn't shocked at all when I saw that was at the top of Mark's list. I'm like, well, it's of course that song's at the top of your list. And I know Julian loves Asylum too, so that's why it lands on Julian's list too. And he'd probably be scolding Ken and I for not putting it on our list right now had he
Probably.
So Ken explain to Julian when he listens to this what your reasoning is for not putting it on.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, again, this is another one that I considered it definitely. It almost made my list, but I just had some other songs I felt needed to be on the list that were missing, and I think missing from your lists. I mean, as we go through, just to point out, as we go through this list, you haven't seen a lot of Gene. And
Ken was scolding us earlier.
I know the '80s wasn't his best, his best effort or whatever. But I think he deserves a little bit more love, especially from Mark, who I think only put one Gene song on there, at the very end of his list. But going back to this song, it's a really good song. Like I said, it almost made it. It's a real good opener, but I don't think it's as good as I've Had Enough. It's not as good as Exciter. And so on. So it's a little, to me, it's a slight step down, and that's probably why it's not on my list, at least.
Well, that makes sense. And to be honest, not that I have to defend myself or something, but I honestly didn't even realize that I didn't pick that many Gene songs. And until you mentioned it, I didn't realize that I did. Yes, I do. Anyways, but moving forward, the next song that we have in 7th spot is another classic of the MTV era, Who Wants to Be Lonely, which comes in with 31 points. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of us picked this one as well. Julian did pick it. He had it number 5. I picked it as well. I have it like in the middle, like 8th, 9th spot. Who else picked it here? Let's see. I believe Lonnie right at the top, number 3 spot. Yeah, he had it pretty high up. And it looks like Ken X-nayed it. Talk about missing out on a song that should be there. Come on,
explain yourself again.
Let's go.
This is not a greatest hits list, and that's why I said earlier at the beginning is that I tried to keep away from some of the hits. So for instance, you do not see "Lick It Up" on my list. You do not see "Heaven's on Fire" on my list. And you don't see "Who Wants to Be Lonely" on my list. I just thought there needed to be some other songs that are more what do you want to say? Unappreciated songs that.
Like "Burn Bitch Burn" appears on your list. You had to get that.
Yeah.
Well, So let me just state, "Burn Bitch Burn" was on my list. I love the song. Yes, it's cheesy lyrics, but I love the riff of the song. I just love the way it, it rocks. So that's the reason that's on my list. So anyway, but it didn't make our final. List. Yeah, much of my songs were left out. But going back to "Who Wants to Be Lonely," yeah, it's a good song. It was on my list at one point, and I replaced it with something else on my list. So I think I replaced it with something else that didn't make the list either. But anyway, but that's okay. It's a good song. I can see why it's on your guys' list.
Mm-hmm. Lonnie, thoughts?
"Who Wants to Be Lonely"? It is my favorite song off of Asylum. And if we're gonna make a best, I think Ken misinterpreted The Exercise, because if we're gonna make a best of these 5 albums, "Who Wants to Be Lonely" has to be on there. It's a great song, very deserving. My favorite song on Asylum. Great video. I like it better than "Tears Are Falling." I wish, it's cool that Kiss is playing "Tears Are Falling." I mean, how cool would it be if they just pulled this out on the cruise or something like that? It'd be amazing. Don't hold your breath with it happening, but it would be amazing if something like that would just come out of left.
Well, you don't want to. You want to hear "Burn Bitch Burn" live at the cruise?
I take it over "Lick It Up" with the Who breakdown on the.
There you go.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would probably take that, purely for the fact that it's like such a rarity, to hear something like that live, Yeah. Okay, so we've all agreed on "Who Wants to Be Lonely." Now coming in at number 6 is another hit, another big staple of the MTV era. Let's talk about Heaven's on Fire, coming in at 33 points. Now, again, Ken just pointed out that he ain't having no hits like that on his list. So
No way.
it's not on his list at all. We have Julian, who has it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spot. I have it in 5th spot. And Lonnie has it in 4th spot. So we all thought extremely highly of Heaven's on Fire. And again, as I mentioned earlier for myself, I loved the song. I loved the video. I'll always remember that whole, thing with him dancing around with the guitars. And, I believe that's the video also where he jumps through the flaming hoop at the end. I believe that's for that song, I think it is. Yeah. I got the 7-inch single. Like I said, that's how much I liked it. Rarely did I have 7-inch singles. I had one for Lick It Up, and I had one for this song as well, for Heaven's on Fire. But rarely did I buy them unless I really, really liked the song. And this one is great. I love it. Paul did a good song, did a good job on production, and his vocals are fantastic on this. So let's go over to Lonnie this time.
Just love the song. It's just a classic Kiss song, Great lyrics. Even like the first time you hear Heaven's on Fire, you're singing. You couldn't help but like sing along with it the first time you hear it. It's one of those. There's songs out there that the first time you hear it, you're singing along with it before the end of the song. And Heaven's on Fire is one of those. It's so catchy, and the lyrics and the verses are just so great even too. It's total Kiss, total 80s Kiss, total 80s feel to it, and Kiss feel to it, and that's why it was a hit for them. And when they brought it back into the set list on End of the Road, and deservedly so, because it is a hit for them. It's a fun song for the band to play it live. It's a fun song for the audience to interact with them when they're playing it live. So Heaven's on Fire definitely made my list. But Ken is a hater and does not make his list. So explain yourself again.
Well, I can see about half your songs, your guys' songs probably played on the Kiss set list in the late 80s. I'm thinking like Crazy Nights, probably that tour. About half of your songs are on this list that they would have played. But anyway, I was just pointing that out. It's not no right or wrong on that. But yeah, Heaven's on Fire is a great song. Again, I was keeping away from it. Again, maybe I'm sick of it. I kind of want to go looking for the deeper cuts that I like a lot. That's why I picked some other stuff. So yeah, there's no denying that's a great song. But to me, I wasn't picking the greatest hits. I'm kind of picking the 15 songs that I'd like to just hear, from those 5 albums, kind of some favorites from those albums that I think need more attention.
Obviously, yeah, I think that's obviously the way you kind of approached yours. Because,
Yeah,
I mean, the one song that's coming up next benefited greatly from your approach to that.
Oh yeah,
because
finally,
it's one of those songs that if it wasn't for where it was on the chart in your position, I don't think it would have been this high up overall. Now, number 5, we're talking about Not for the Innocent at 34. Ken had it in 1st spot. Now we have Lonnie, who had it pretty high up as well. I mean, he had it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th spot. And Julian as well had it in pretty high spot as well. I think it was 8th as well. I did not have it
because he's a Gene hater.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting because what I wanted to say about this song is that at first, admittingly, it wasn't really a very favorite song of mine. But when I did discover years before on I think it was the Kiss on the Kiss podcast.
The podcast. Uh-huh.
Yeah, they played the demo that Paul and Gene where they sang it together.
Yeah.
And I immediately was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool how they split up the vocals. And then I went back and started listening to Gene's version of it, And admittingly, he does some of his best singing on this song. I think he sings really high belts, and he does some amazing singing on this. But again, it wasn't snubbed for any other reason than just I thought there was some other songs that I preferred over it. That's all. So let's go to Ken. Number one, and why?
Number one, I think this is the best out of these 5 albums. This is the best Gene song on the 5 albums. It's his best, like you said, Mark. Great singing performance. It's just a dirty vocal from him. I mean, you can feel it when he sings it, and like he really means it. He's saying, better lock up your daughters, or we're coming to your town. And everything's good about it. The way it builds at the beginning, the guitar solo, the kind of the Vinny guitar part where it makes it sound like almost like a European siren kind of thing, and so on. So it's just a perfect song, and I love it. I love it every time I hear it. So yeah, it's just number one on my list. I just think it's just a great song.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Lonnie, your thoughts?
I have it pretty high too. I agree with Ken that of these 5 albums that we're speaking of, it is the best Gene song in the bunch. And Gene sings his ass off on this song. Just sings his ass off. It's great. I don't think you're going to find a better sung Gene Simmons song out there. Maybe not, and not just in these 5 albums. Not just in these 5 albums that we're talking about. Gene's vocal performance is fantastic on this song, and Danny's guitar playing is fantastic. Is top as well. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's very deservingly that it's high up on our list because it is such a great song. I do love that demo that Mark brought up. I just absolutely love that demo with them trading vocals.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I hope that it gets some kind of proper release and some kind of Kiss, box set package someday. Who knows what this big announcement is? Maybe it'll be included in the everybody's kind of tight-lipped on that.
I think the big announcement was ABBA's album coming out.
Yeah, he just couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
So I mean, after the instant, it's great. It's great Gene song. Very very deservingly to be high on our list. It is fantastic.
Yes, I totally agree. Now, the next song we're going to talk about, and this brings me to a little thing I want to preface before we get to it. This explains why my list is the way it is as far as ranking. Because when I sent this list and made it, I wasn't ranking it in like best to last. I made my list based on how I would put it on a record to listen to. So that's why now
track number
when you
2.
look at it, that's why now the next song which we're going to be talking about, which is the 4th place song, Psycho Circus, which comes in at 38. If I knew that this was being ranked point-wise like that, I would have never have had Psycho Circus in number 2 ranked. I would have put it probably a bit lower, but in the rankings, I have Psycho Circus 2nd. Ken has it in 3rd. Lonnie has it in 5th spot. And Julian doesn't have it on at all on his list.
Julian doesn't like Psycho Circus.
Yeah. But with that said, I think, again, it's another great opener. I think Paul really, went out of his way to write a fantastic song, a great opener for that album. And, I mean, he definitely checks off all the little boxes that you need for a great opening song. It's all present there in this song. So it's not like putting my hand on my head saying, oh my God, why did I put Psycho Circus? It's not that. It's just that I would not have done it if I knew that that's what was happening here. But anyways, that's irrelevant at this point. So Psycho Circus, great song. Let's go to Ken with your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'd like to call out Julian because, I don't know how he could have not put Psycho Circus on his 15. Yeah. I mean,
the only song off Psycho Circus he has is Into the Void.
Into the Void, which doesn't make any sense. Is Into the Void better than Psycho Circus? I don't think so. So anyway, it's just calling that out. Sorry, Julian. I know you'll probably fire me next week, but that's okay. Anyway, So Second Circuit, yeah, great song, great opening song, another great opening song, a cool song, fits the theme that they were trying to achieve, I guess, on Psycho Circus. Unfortunately, the theme didn't continue throughout. It kind of the album starts great on the theme and ends great on the theme, and then the stuff in the middle doesn't even make sense. Well, yeah, it doesn't garbage, but yeah, it doesn't kind of go with the rest of it. I think the beginning and the end that should have been it, maybe.
They're good bookends. They're good bookends.
The good bookends, right? That's a good one. Good point. But yeah, great song, great, a memorable solo, cool solo that's reprised later. And I have nothing bad to say about it. I've always liked the song, and that's why I think they're, they still, play it. I think they're still playing it, right, to this day. So, yeah, I'll look forward to that if they still have the concert next week in Mountain View.
Lonnie?
I like Psycho. I like the song Psycho Circus. I remember first time hearing it. I heard it on the radio, my job when I was in college, and I was like, I knew it was coming. It's like, the DJ announced we're gonna play the new Kiss single, and I was like trying to stay within ear's distance of the radio. It's like, because I knew it was coming, and I heard it. I was like, wow, that's great, and I was 19 years old. The song could have been garbage, and I would have been like, "That's great."
Yeah,
it's the new Kiss song off the the reunion album. But it holds true that it is great. I really like the song. Like Ken mentioned, the guitar solo is very good. The song just flows really, really well, and it breaks down in the middle, and then the backup, with the bridge. It's fantastic. And it's a shame that the album couldn't have kept that momentum. That song brought in, and the excitement that song had prior to the album's official release. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
And then I remember reading reviews of the album before it came out, and then this next song Within, that's leftover from Carnival of Souls.
It's a leftover, yeah.
Really, the reunion album with Ace and Peter, we're doing leftovers of a song that wasn't good enough to make Carnival of Souls that you did with two different people, two other members of the band that haven't been here for a couple of years now.
Yeah,
it was really, and then you can go down the list from there. It's a lot of head scratchers from there on that album. But Ken's credit though, what Ken said's right, that it really ends well with Journey of a Thousand Years with the repeating that guitar solo at the end. Like, oh, that's really a cool way to end this album, with bookend type songs like that, with repeating that same vibe from the beginning. But Psycho Circus, the song itself is great and very deservingly to be right high on our lists.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the great point. I mean, before we move on, I think that I also, when I first heard it, was completely floored by that first single and thought, if it's the rest of it's like this, we got a real killer record. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Yeah. Number 3. This is a song that I think all of us agree is a fantastic song, a true classic, a song that, oddly enough, never got played very much live at all. I mean, I don't understand why they never played this song in a live capacity. But we're talking about A Million to One that comes in third place with 39 points. I mean, all of us had this, like, it's a no-brainer. I mean, Lonnie had it number 2 spot on here. Julian had it on here, but he had it really low. He had it like 11th or 10th place, like pretty low on the list. For me, I had it like right in the middle, which again, if I would have realized that we were ranking it by points, I would have had it much higher in my rankings. Oh yeah, much higher than middle. I would have probably had it like second or third, to be honest with you, because I really enjoy that song. And Ken had it pretty high as well. I mean, you had it in like 6th spot.
Yeah.
So that's a good position. Now, again, quickly with my thoughts, to me, this is probably, next to I Still Love You, probably one of the best rock ballad type songs I think that Kiss has ever done. I mean, it's not really a ballad in terms of it being slow, but the kind of feel of it and the kind of lyrical content of it has that kind of ballad-ish type feel to it. But unbelievable, great singing. I've always liked the guitar playing in it as well. You know, the whole feel of the song is really well done. The harmony vocals, fantastic. So I'm going to go to Lonnie first because he had it very high up, and I want to hear his thoughts on this.
I absolutely love the song, and I could have easily put it even higher than. Well, I could have put it number one. I put it number two. I could have put it number one, just because I love the song so much. It's like Mark said. It's such a great '80s type rock of a ballad, but with more of a rocking type feel to it at the same time. Just a typical '80s ballad. You know, you had to have your ballad on a lot of your albums at the time. Kiss kind of got away from it. You know, they didn't really have a ballad on their next album, Animalize. But I don't understand. I'm with you that I don't understand, one, why this song wasn't a single. Two, why it was never played live. And the song is just buried in their catalog. And you talk to a lot of Kiss fans. Every Kiss fan likes this song. There's not a I don't think I've ever met a Kiss fan who says, "Oh no, A Million to One, that's garbage. I hate that song." You know, there's plenty of Kiss fans out there that don't like Beth, but I've never met a Kiss fan that says, "Oh no, A Million to One, I hate that song." Everybody likes, and I think everybody likes the song, and it is a shame that it's just buried. You won't find it on any greatest hits package. You know, it was not a single. It was not played live. You know, I guess they have their reasons. You know, kind of like you know, like Mr. Speed is buried too. I love that song, but never played live. Not a single, just buried. It's just a head scratcher. Head scratcher from that gets the treatment it does because I love it.
Yeah.
Ken, what about you? Mark,
go ahead.
Mark, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so go ahead, Ken. I go for it. What's your thoughts?
Okay. Well, I'll go. She really want me to. Yeah, Man to One definitely should be on everyone's list, and like you said, I think it is. The thing is, I agree with Lonnie that the second single should have been A Million to One instead of All Hell's Breaking Loose. Even though All Hell's Breaking Loose is a very good song, but I think A Million to One is a little bit more radio friendly, and it could have done something. It could have made Look It Up. I mean, Look It Up. The album did pretty darn well in sales, but I think if that could have been released, it might have created some more sales if it became a hit. But we'll never know now. But it's just a great song, well written, great vocal from Paul Stanley. I think it's probably a continuation song from about Donna Dixon, like from I Still Love You to that. I think it's probably, I'm not sure. I can't remember. I think it's same feel. It's probably written about the same girl, I think. So it's it's pretty torn up on that one. So
and it sounded great when he brought it out for the Live to Win tour when they did.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Live to Win tour. I forgot to mention that. It sounded fantastic live.
I'm gonna have to. You just reminded me. I'm gonna have to pull that video out, the DVD out.
Great.
And watch that again. I haven't done that in a while. So that's very good. Good point. So great song. Should be on everyone's list for sure.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll just say, one last thing about it, I think the reason why this one is so accepted amongst Kiss fans, I mean, Lonnie brought up Beth, for example, where I know a lot of girls I know loved Beth, and the guys kind of rolled their eyes at Beth. I think this song has the advantage that I think guys think it's cool, and girls really like this song as well. So I think that's the one thing where I think that this song has been a favorite amongst lots of Kiss fans, because they also reeled in the guys with this song, not just the girls. Because the ballads usually kind of do that sometimes, right? Yeah. So, number two, and all things considered, I've always loved this song. You guys know that. I always had that great story about, going to California with the top down of a car I rented and hearing this on, XM radio and thinking, wow, this is like the perfect soundtrack for my first trip to California. And that's Turn on the Night. Love the song. it's always had a special place, with me. Julian had a number 1 on his list. I had a number 3. Ken had it in number 5 position, and Lonnie had it in 14th. The bottom, but on his list, so better than not having it on the list, right? But I really like the song. I think we talked about earlier how Ron Nevison got criticized for maybe making this album a little too polished. I think that the 2 songs that his polish worked on are Crazy Nights and this song. It can be debated that some of the other songs were maybe a little too polished for their own good.
One other song.
Let's go.
I was just to say, "Reason to Live" was another one that was probably the best. Yeah, those 3 songs were the best ones from the bunch. Yeah.
Yeah. So they probably did well with the gloss. We can argue that the other ones maybe didn't. But let's go to Lonnie with your pick and why you had it where it was.
I like Turn On the Night. It made my list. I'm just not a big fan of Crazy Nights as an album. I think, actually, I'm just looking at it, that Turn On the Night and Crazy Nights are the only songs from that album that made my list. I'm not a fan of Nevison's production on the album. I don't just, when I'm in the mood to listen to Kiss, I don't just whip out my copy of Crazy Nights and I want to listen to that. You know what I mean? To me, it doesn't sound like a Kiss record. Where I like those songs. I do like Turn On the Night. It is it's just too polished for me. It's just not. Kiss isn't polished. Kiss is a little dirtier, a little grungier,
raw.
A little more raw. That's a perfect word to describe it. Kiss isn't Bon Jovi or Def Leppard.
No.
Kiss is their own style, and I think it had different production when I might go to it more often because they're not bad songs. It just doesn't sound like a Kiss record to me. So, but Turn On the Night is decent. I do enjoy it. I did put it on my list. A little lower near the bottom, and I understand. Mark loves a song for we all love songs for different reasons, like sentimental type of reasons. Mark always talks about the story when you go into California, hearing that song, it's like, wow, this is so cool, and moments like that just stick with you and stick in your brain. So we all have reasons for that. So I mean, I like Turn On the Night, but it's not upper echelon for me.
Yes, Mr. Ken.
Yeah, Turn On the Night, great song. It to me, that should have been the first single off of Crazy Nights. Even though, how Crazy Nights is so good of a song, I just think this is a better song, in my opinion, than Crazy Nights. I just enjoy it much better than that, though. I would have liked to have seen the harder rocking song of Turn On the Night. I know it's well produced and all that stuff, but I would have liked to hear a harder, grittier type Turn On the Night. It could have been a hit that way too, but yeah, it's pretty high on my list because it's just a great, catchy song, and I've always liked it. One of the good couple of songs of Crazy Nights.
Yes, I absolutely agree wholeheartedly with you. Now we get to number 1. Now number 1 is a song that I think it's going to be no surprise to people watching this that it ended up in number 1, 46 points. And the interesting thing is, again, going back to my list, if I would have known how this was ranked, Exciter would not have been where it is on my list, like third last, because obviously I just mentioned Exciter is the song that is numero uno on the list. It is number 1 for Lonnie. It is number 2 for Ken. It Like I said, it ended up being number 13 on my list, unfortunately, and is number 2 on Julian's. So it obviously is a runaway number 1 smash on this list for this song.
Runaway, no pun intended, right?
Yes, no pun intended. Yeah, but Exciter, great song. I mean, just right from that very beginning, that opening guitar chug that he does at the beginning, fantastic stuff. And the chorus is good, really strong Paul Stanley vocals on this song. Again, upbeat, in your face. It doesn't let up through the whole song. Even in the guitar solo section, there's no let up whatsoever. I mean, yes, I know Rick Derringer did the solo. That's always been a sore point amongst some Kiss people. But, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. I mean, maybe one day Vinny's version of it will be out there. Maybe it already is. I don't know. But I think it's a great song regardless of who did the guitar solo. I think the song is the most important thing. And I think we'll all agree on that point. It's a great opener, probably one of the best openers that Kiss has put to a record. Thoughts? Let's start with Ken.
Yeah, I can remember hearing this song the first time I played. I think I knew, this is another one where I knew the guy at the record store, and he gave me a copy on cassette just before, like a week before it came out, and I was like, wow, this thing is really rocking. I was like surprised. But yeah, it's a great song. Yeah, we don't, it's not Vinny on the lead guitar, but that's fine. Rick Derringer does a fantastic job. It's a great guitar solo. And I like the way the little changes that they do in the middle of the song. Maybe, like leading up to the riffing that they do, right, leading up before the guitar solo. But the band is just on fire on that song, and there's another great Paul vocal on this one. Very, 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 very good. One of the greatest lead off tracks on a Kiss album, definitely. So I really enjoy it. That's why it's very high on my list.
Yeah, Lonnie, your thoughts?
It is. It's great. I mean, from the Mark mentioned the opening little guitar work all the way to the end. It is just an in your face song, and I absolutely love the song. It is the perfect way to open up that album. We talked earlier about Not for the Innocent being such a great vocal performance for Gene. Well, Exciter is one of the best vocal performances you get from Paul in the Kiss catalog too, in my opinion. Paul Stanley is really, really in his prime vocally, and it really shows on the song. And from Paul's vocals to the guitar work to Eric's drumming, and just the speed of the song, it almost like ends so quickly because it's so good, and like, oh geez, it's over already. It's so great. So when I was thinking about doing this list, I mean, I had to put almost no thought into putting this song number one on my list, because I like it that much. Like, well, okay, these 5 albums, okay, well, Exciter is the best song after these 5 albums, hands down, and we'll go from there. To me, so it's great. It's just just everything about it. I can't say anything negative about it. It's so good.
Very good. So there you go, folks. We have our list compiled of 15 songs. Let's review them really quickly. Number 15, Give Me More. Number 14, Lick It Up. Number 13, Trial by Fire. Number 12, All Hell's Breaking Loose. Number 11, Crazy Crazy Nights. Number 10, Tears Are Falling. Number 9, I've Had Enough. 8, King of the Mountain. 7, Who Wants to Be Lonely. 6, Heaven's on Fire. 5, Not for the Innocent. 4, Psycho Circus. 3, A Million to One. 2, Turn on the Night. And the number 1 song, as voted by us, is Exciter. And we have to address before we go here, we voted on what the best of those 5 albums are. Now, according to Julian's computations, the list goes as follows. Coming in last, in 5th place, with 6 points, is Psycho Circus. Not a big surprise, I think, amongst us. I think we can all agree with that. Coming in 4th spot, Crazy Nights, with 7 points, so 1 more point. Coming in at 3rd place, Animalize, with 11 points. Interesting. Coming in at 2nd place, Asylum, with 17 points, which means that the number 1 record, as voted by us, is Lick It Up with 19 points. Any point of interest there, or anything somebody wants to say in regard to the list?
No, it's not surprising. It's Pretty close. I think it's pretty close to what I submitted mine as. Psycho Circus getting the least amount isn't surprising either. Look It Up getting the most isn't surprising to me. Asylum right on its heels though, because I know Julian and Mark's love for Asylum, so it's not surprising how it shook out to me at all, and I think it's probably fairly accurate.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think the only thing is I put Crazy Nights on the bottom of mine with Psycho Circus above it, just because. I think just because.
Yeah, you did.
Just because the production really for me killed Crazy Nights, and the high vocal stuff going on, theatrics going on that album was just kills it for me. I have a hard time listening to those specific songs that are doing that. Otherwise, the rest of definitely the top three: Look It Up, Asylum, Animal Eyes. That makes total sense to me. I just like to point everything out. Is on our other list that we had, the 15, six of the songs that we picked were from Look It Up. So that kind of tells you a story right there.
Yeah.
That's why Look It Up's number one.
Yeah.
And also another interesting thing to point out is the songs that we picked that didn't make it. For example, Into the Void didn't make it. I'll Fight Hell to Hold You was picked by not only Julian but myself as well. And Journey of 1,000 Years was picked by myself, didn't make the list. Ken picked Get All You Can Take. He picked Burn Bitch Burn. And he also picked On the Eighth Day. Those are all songs that did not make the list as well. On Lonnie's list, he picked Into the Void. That didn't make it on the list. He also picked Fits Like a Glove. That didn't make it. Love's a Deadly Weapon. That didn't make it either. So, yeah, I mean, some of us had these
I'm still wondering
songs that we thought... Sorry, go ahead.
I understand. I'm still wondering about the computations that Julian did in some of this. But anyway, that's okay. I mean, it's pretty... I want to say it's probably pretty accurate or close to what it would have been anyway if it, right or wrong.
Yeah, I agree. So there you go. There's our thoughts on these albums that were put out in September. We are in September now, approaching fall, whether we like it or not. So I guess until next time, which I'm wondering if Julian will be with us next time. Most likely, I have a feeling he'll be with us next episode.
We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out about that. And, it's nice having you guys on. And thank you for everybody who's watching. Of course, you can see us on all the usual spots, YouTube and all those other spots where you find this type of podcast. It's all available for you to go and see or hear if that's what you prefer. And until next time, on behalf of myself, Lonnie, and Ken, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you all next time. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final, there are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.